workbooks. So in this chapter we are going to deal with referring the workbooks. Oops. Opening the workbook, closing the workbook, then creating the workbook and saving the workbook. So these topics we are going to deal with in this chapter. So let's begin. So here's my blank Excel file. So I'm going to open my VBA. So press Alt F11. Book. Here's your VBA window. Go to Insert. Go to Module. So now blank module again. So let's try Sub. Create workbooks. The name rule will be the same. So again subroutine. Let's begin. So I'm going to add a new workbook. If you want to add a workbook through Excel, how can you do that? Just press Control N. Control N. Now see, I have two workbooks. First one is 10 workbooks. Second is book 1. So close it. So through VBA we can add just workbooks dot add. So this is the code to add a workbook. Let's create a workbook 1. So book 2, minimize it now. Okay, so my workbook has been added. So let's try other code. Let's try to refer the workbook. I'm again cheating this time. Refer the workbook. Okay, so to referring we have to activate the workbook. So what is the referring? Suppose we always want to do the work on sheet 1 of the book 2, but we have two workbook open, which is 10 workbook and second is book 2. So if this time, let me show an example. Delete this. Range double quotes A1 colon A10 colon, sorry, double quotes close parentheses, then value equal to 25. Yep. So I have created a code in which A1 to A10 value will be 25. Run this code. Now my activate workbook is 10 workbook and the A1 to A10 value is 25. Okay, now select book 2. Now run your code. Now see, book 2 value A1 A10 value has changed. So we have to always refer the workbook when we are working in multiple workbook. So I want to work only in book 2, not in 10 workbook. So how can we do that? Just right here, workbook, workbooks, open parentheses, then name your workbook, book 2, then double quotes, close parentheses, then activate. Okay, so now select 10 workbook, delete this, and select book 2, delete this. So here's the Visual Basic editor. So run this code now. Workbook. So run this code now. Now see, 10 workbooks. Our activate workbook was 10 workbook, but the value of A1 to A10 is nil, and the value of A10, A1 to A10 in the book 2 is 25 to 25. So this was the advantage of referring the workbook. So if we open our workbook, our book again, then we have dealt with refer the workbook. Now we are going to deal with opening the workbook. So this time I'm going to open a save workbook. Let's close book 2. Don't save. Okay. So here is the code. Again, I'm writing a new code. Sub open saved workbook. Open parentheses, close parentheses, enter. Oops, what I have done, I have just done some mistake. Delete this right here. Yeah. So this time I'm going to open. Here's my folder. Here is the last chapter name. So I'm going to copy my folder. Copy. So workbook dot open workbook dot open. So it is asking for file name. So we have to mention our file name. Here is the file name. Here is the folder location. We have to mention our file name. What is the file name? I will open my last chapter workbook, that was 9 worksheet. So click on right click, rename, copy the name, then backslash, then control V. So it is our file name. In D folder we are going to open this file, but whenever you are mentioning the Excel file name or any type of file name, suppose you are mentioning the PowerPoint, WinWord, then you have to mention the extension also. So what is the extension of our workbook? So our extension is XLSM. So we have to mention it dot XLSM. So this is the text. So we have to mention it double quotes, double quotes. So now delete the extra space. Okay, just answer. Okay, now my code is complete. Let's go to our workbook, run this code, run. See, my last chapter workbook has opened now. So this is so simple and so easy part. Okay, so let's move on to another simple part, which is save your workbooks. Save workbooks, open parentheses, close parentheses. Okay, so workbook, give your name to workbook, that is 10 workbooks. My workbook name is workbooks works books. Kindly check your name from here to here. Okay, group group dot save. Okay, so this is going to be save our workbook. So run this code. So our workbook is saved now. Okay, so let's try to copy our workbook. So let's try to close our workbook. So mention close, but be careful when you will going to close your workbook. Excel will open a pop-up window, and you know very well what will be the pop-up window. One. Now you can see that my pop-up window. Do you want to save your workbook? I am pressing cancel, and you can disable your pop-up window through application.display alert equal to false, which was dealt in uh, last chapter. So this was the workbook, so simple and so easy. We have not dealt the copy paste of workbook. We are going to deal with this topic in later chapter, which is so simple and so easy. So we have dealt with create workbook. Simple is workbooks workbooks.add, then refer the workbook, then we have open the save workbook, then we have save saved our workbook or close our workbook. So keep enjoying.